Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the third round of the Pro Division in the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. As usual, I am your host and commentator for today's events, STM_RRDZ, and today we are ready to embark on the Pro entries for the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship, and as well as the guys that are setting times. Let's take a look down at the grid for today's race. Swift in the 95, who took home a race win last time out at Suzuka, and he will be looking for some serious points as well, as he's not in first in the championship. That would go to his teammate SLM Polymer in the 24 Mercedes. So he will be the man to take charge and make sure that the points lead is still within his grasp for today. And we will also go down the field as well from the 64 GTR, which is back from Bathurst after taking that race win. And it will be a very feisty battle between the 95 and the 64, of course. And then we have Ben L85 in the first of two Lexuses, the number 8. He's had an up and down season so far, and he is currently 8th in the standings, but he will be looking for some serious points to take home regardless. And then, of course, this man, SMM Ure in the 77 Audi. He is second in points he is 9 points down on the leading Mercedes of Palmer, but he will be looking for some points as well. TJIS 78 in the 78 BMW. It's been an up and down season for him coming into this race, 9th in points. And there is his teammate V12 man, who was second to last, unfortunately, in points. Oh, and it looked like there's a bit of lag right there. I couldn't tell about that for a second, but we will continue to monitor that. Who else? We also have the GTR of Jack Mia, who has been very, very strong also as well in that machine. So the two people that I'm usually... So we have an interesting development as well. We do not have K and K Dot, unfortunately, in the 04 Audi. So we'll continue to monitor that. But the Mercedes of Swift, who comes into this championship race 4th in points already, is a very, very strong feeling regardless. And James Head says, not feeling confident at all here, expected to be either last or quit. I mean, you obviously want to make sure you get the points as well. Yuri now, and it looked like he was setting a purple sector lap. He has, and he will be probably on for a flyer here in this race. And Elliot Fageter has picked up a penalty of some sort and has gone 3rd quickest. And let's make sure we cover all the cars. Here's one of them we missed. The 13 Honda NSX of Doug Barrow, the Costa-sponsored entry, the first one. And then we have the second one of Harris at the 69. And then we have, if I can find James Head, there is James Head in the number 7 Lexus. And that will be the grid for today. 11 cars for Pro. Elliot Fageter will be the first one out for qualifying in this 11-car grid. So Elliot Fageter, he will be the first one out on track. Look at the line of cars that are all going out. This is going to get very, very busy indeed for all of these guys. And it looks like, hang on if I can find them. It looks like both BMWs are a bit laggy, so V12 man Yeah, he's letting the Audi of Ure go by, not to get in his way, but that's going to possess a major hazard, of course, for all of these guys. Elliott Faggoter and TGIS and the BMW and the GTR. And TGIS has gotten past because Elliott is trying to find some clear distance for the start of this lap. Oh, he has to take to the escape route. He hits the wall, so that's that's not good news there. And that's not a commentator's curse because I didn't say anything about him. No one in that comment section is better tell me about it. Right, so first wave of qualifying laps about to begin with TGIS, the first man out in the 78 BMW. He will start across the start-finish line. And he will start now for his first flying lap. And look at the field behind him. SLM Palmer and Swift, both Mercedes, to follow suit as one of the GTRs come to the pits, and that will be Jack Mia. So let's see what it's for. Looking to get some fresh rubber on that car. Yeah, he's looking for just some fresh rubber for this qualifying session. And all of these guys now starting their hot laps now. Doug Barrow, Hair Raiser, Elliott Faggoter, James Head, V12 man. Where's V12 man? There he is. There is V12 man, Ben L85, Jack Mia, and then there is SMM Ure at the back. And like I said as well, it's going to be a with Elliott now in this race, it's going to be a very, very hot horse. It's going to be a very, very high horse race indeed for the top four. So I'm going to keep my eye out for Swift, Palmer, Elliott, and Ure, because those racers can provide a very, very tough fight indeed within the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. TGIS now coming through for the final corner as he will lay down the benchmark now for qualifying now. The BMWs are of course turboed, and of course they provide a lot of full head of steam in this championship. What's the first time going to be? A 39.3 for the 78. Swift with a 37.8, Palmer with a 37.9, Doug Brown with a 38.7, Hair Raiser with a 39.5, and Swift now, the man on pole at the moment, a 38.8 for Elliott, and a 38.9 for James Head. V12 man with a 39 dead, Ben L85 with a 39.4, Ure now with a 38.5, and of course one last lap, I think. Who's that? Oh, someone's going around it. That is the GTR of Elliott Faggoter. So, oh no, that's not good news for his progress in qualifying. So, so here's an interesting development. Of course, with Jack Mia coming to the pits after that first lap, he will have to start his first flying lap now. Just over half of the session to go. So now the second wave of flying laps about to finish. And Swift now is still the man on pole. It is Mercedes, Audi, then Honda, and then Nissan GTR, and then the Lexus. That all around out the top six. On board with Swift now, and he's actually going to come into the pits. So 95 will come into the pits for another set of rubber. No improvement for Palmer, but will there be an improvement for? No, I stand corrected. Doug Barrow will come into the pits. That's Hair Raiser coming across the line. I don't think he's had an improvement as well. No improvement for there. B12 man with a 38.7. Ben L85 with a 39.0. And B12 man of the BMW has jumped up into fourth. So that's a very strong showing. Ure with a 38.1. but he is about 3/10 down off the pole time. Jack Mia now with a 38.6, moving himself up into 4th. And the top of the grid now, the top 6 just covered by just under a whole second. So very, very close times between one another. And then 3/10 covered the top 3 of the Mercedes of Swift and Palmer and the Audi of Ure. So and Swift now is on his out lap. I believe Hair Razor is on a hot lap right now. Yes, he is. Let's take a look at set times real quickly. Ure, Palmer, his best last lap had the fastest sector 3 out of anybody. Ure had the fastest sector 2 out of anybody. And sector 1 looks like to still be a fair game. But of course, we have more hot laps coming in now. As I stand corrected. Palmer and TGIS will come in for a pit, and they'll be looking to do one more flying lap on some new rubber. Swift now begins his flying lap. Flying lap 1 of 2, I presume. And V12 man has jumped to 38.6. Ben Elliott 5 with a 38.9. So Swift now, he will continue instead of that. James Head comes into the pits as well to get some fresh rubber. Hair Razor right now down all the way in 11th, last of everybody on the grid. So not a good day for him, unfortunately. And the bigger shock, Elliott Faggoter is all the way down to 7th. A 38.8 last time by. He's going to do a lot of work to be able to make up his way into the 37th if he wants any chance of taking home some serious points here today. So Swift now, what's his sectors look like? No improvement, not even a personal best sector for Swift. So he's probably wanting to take his tires easily for this first lap before he goes full out attack mode in the next lap. So he rounds the final corner now. Got to get a good exit. That looked like a very strong exit for the 95. What can Swift do on this final flying lap? Theoretically, all of these guys will get one more flying lap now, and Swift will be the first one to set the momentum. First corner now. A very good line. Ure with a 37.8 off that last lap, so 66 thousandths of a second separate the top 2, and it looked like we're about to have another feisty battle from Suzuka, of course. Jack Mia with a 38.4, so he goes up in the 4th place on that lap. And someone's picked up a penalty of some sort. And look, I thought it was Palmer for a second. Yes, it was Palmer, the 3rd place car. He probably got a little too hot on the track limits, and of course that's just ended his qualifying. So regardless of this lap, he's got to make up a lot of time to be able to make up this lap. Swift now come through the final bit of tight, twisty turns. So Swift now coming through the final corner one last time in qualifying. Qualifying is over, so these guys will finish their laps. And as I speak, someone's off at the chicane out of the final corner right there. So Swift now, what does he have in store? It is a 37.7, so a fastest lap out of everybody. Palmer comes into the pits. Doug Barrow with a 38.6, so he moves up into 6th. Harry's with a 39.3. Ure coming across the start-finish line now. No improvements, so he's had an off somewhere, and that's ended his qualifying right there. Jack Mia, TGIS now in 7th with a 38.7 now, so a strong showing for him. Jack Mia now, what has he got in store for? Oh, I think it was him that had the off at the chicane. So, pole position going to Swift in the Mercedes. Suzuka race winner Swift takes pole position here for Fuji in the pro division of the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. So there you go, Mercedes on the front row, first and third, but it is that Audi of Ure who the Mercedes and Audi had swapped their starting positions from first and second, and Palmer in third, Jack Mia and Ford James had fifth, and then V12 man in sixth. Doug Barrow and TGIS round out in the top 8. So now the 5 red lights are coming on, and the green flag is out now, and we are underway here at Fuji. So now Swift now has pulled out a comfortable start obviously on Ure, but it looked like he got a little too hot into that first corner, and Ure all of a sudden is completely on the back bumper of that Mercedes. So Doug Barrow has done a good job. Oh, what has happened to Jack Mia? Jack Mia's fallen down all the way to 10th. Oh my goodness. Jack Mia, who started P4 in this race, is now down to 10th. So that's not good news there. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. If we're going to have a similar race at Suzuka, oh my goodness me. And B12 man has also been bumped down to 11th as well. Oh, and a very courteous dive to the inside by Palmer, but that, as it gets to the position, oh my goodness, on the outside of the chicane, on Ure, the championship leader, putting the expertise to task on the man in second who is chasing him down for that championship. Oh, and Palmer almost gets it sideways. Oh my goodness me. Very, very tight racing for all of these guys. James Head now in the 5th position. Then L85. These guys are all, look at this train of cars here, all within the slipstream of Swift. This is amazing stuff that you want to see, obviously. Look at all those cars in the slipstream right there. Elliot Fageter in 8th place now, so he's going to have to make up a lot of ground in that GTR. The 2 Mercedes doing a good job of keeping the lead. And Ure, if he wants to learn his lesson from Suzuka, he's got to stick the right moves at the right times. And Doug Barrow has done a very good job as well to challenge these front guys as well. So he's done a very exceptional job right there. Oh, and James Head, he's had an up and down season. He doesn't want to throw it away here as well. So that was a whole lap of the 13 Honda NSX, the cost of entry of Doug Barrow. And these guys, the Mercedeses and the pair of Mercedes, the Audi and the Honda and the two Lexuses have all kept up with these guys. The two GTRs are significantly struggling for straight line speed. And look at this right now. Palmer moves right, Swift and Ure will follow. And so will Doug Barrow. He moves over first. So all Ure can really do in this race is just see if he can force a move out of these top two guys. But for now, just try and jump them in the positions. Because as of right now, that Audi is very good on its tires, and especially for that left front, which usually this course is a clockwise circuit, meaning you turn right more than anything. You do a very good job of he's doing a very good job of manhandling that front right tire. And props to Doug Barrow as well, who's also putting down a good lap as well. Palmer still with that fastest lap, but Doug Barrow just has a purple sector out of second too, so he's putting down the pressure as well in the 13. James Head also doing a good job as well in the number 7. Metal 85 all of a sudden is 2 seconds back on James Head, so I don't know what's happened here, but he's lost some time. Jack Mia having to defend against Elliot Fageter. And Elliot Fageter was one of the drivers that I was expecting to be up at the top of the grid, but as of right now, he's at the back of the grid, which is quite actually he's more lower down than I anticipated him to be. So he will have to force his way up. There is Jack Mia, V12 man, and the BMWs are at the back of the grid. Hair Razor unfortunately not having a good race as well. And of course TGIS going to make the move on the Honda and does so successfully. Let's go back up to the front of the grid now, where it is still Palmer leading by just not that much. 0.3 is the gap, and this could go for a very, very interesting race for a very, very long time. So you're on board with the 95 of Swift, who not only has to worry about the car in front, which is his teammate, but he's also got to worry about Ure, who he knows is quick and can apply a lot of pressure. All Ure can really do at this rate is just watch. But if you also look in the back mirror of Swift as well, he's also got 3 more cars to worry about as well besides his teammate. So Swift doing a very, very good job indeed. Oh, and there's a move probably to the inside. He might have taken that corner a little bit too anxiously. Is this going to allow the Audi to get up on him? Nothing doing. He's actually gaining out of the slipstream thanks to his teammate, which is keeping him at bay. And Ure is going to have to force one down to the inside. Swift moves out first to break the toe. Ure can just only sit and watch for now. On board now with the Audi of Ure, who is still having to just sit behind this battle, unfortunately, because it is unfortunately very, very tough. Oh, someone's gone around. Oh, wait, someone else has gone around. Oh, and it's the 13. It's the 13 of Doug Barrow, who was in P4. Oh my goodness gracious me. He's put a foot wrong. I don't know what happened. He had to have been going he had to probably carry a lot more momentum out of turn 2, and unfortunately he's now down all the way in 10th. And I did see a car off into turn 1. I was wondering who it was, and I'm assuming it is the Nissan of Jack Mia. So no commentator's curse to be had, but I'd say I'm on the borderline. I'm borderline tiptoeing that right about now. So. Apologies for stepping away for a brief minute or two. Of course, house cleanup again this week after this. So this is getting done out of the way before I do so. So James Head has moved up into 4th, V12 man in 5th. So the BMW has moved up, and a lot of these guys at the back of the grid have penalties of some sort, so I'm not sure what happened. But now all of a sudden the BMW V12 man is up into P5, and the fastest lap of the race now held by Elliott Fageter. So, and Ure has picked up a penalty from something on the course. And these top 4 guys have pretty much just cleared off from the rest of the field. Yeah, as you can see from these 4 guys, they have completely just blasted away from the rest of the field. And Elliott Fageter, who is now in 6th, he will be trying to get back up as he's on the back bumper of Ben L85 now. I don't think Ben L85 is going to mount much of a challenge. He's just going to let him by. The straight line speed of that GTR is super immense right there. So that GTR, very, very quick indeed. Once again, we move back to the top 4 here. Elliott Fageter moves up into 5th. Palmer still leads with about 46 minutes to go over his teammate Swift, who is still mounting a defense challenge on Ure. And Ure, all he can really do is just sit back and wait, obviously, because he can't do much in that Side Max Motorworks machine. Look at this train of cars, obviously 1, 2, 3, just right in that one frame alone. So very, very nice, close racing. Of course, a lot of pressure to be had between all of these guys, but one little small move for any of these guys, just like Doug Barrow, and of course you would be out of the main pack. So, oh, and Swift is getting very squirrely out of that final corner right there. And can this allow Yurei to mount a challenge at least, because he moves right, all these guys move right, so on board now with the Mercedes of Palmer, and Swift moves out. Yurei moves once, he moves twice. He's going to move back down to the inside. Oh, and Palmer's been forced a little wide, and Swift's taking the lead at the back of this race. So, a very, very good switchback move indeed for Swift to take the lead at this race, and Palmer now is going to be the one to defend on Yurei. And Swift now has done an incredible job. Yurei still has that 5/10 penalty, which he will have to serve. And while all this is all happening, it's allowing James Head to catch up rapidly, of course. And there's another car off over there. I assume it is the GTR. Yes, it is the GTR of Jack Mia. A 209 on lap 6. So he's had a very bad lap a little while ago. So V12 man also down in 6th. What the heck has happened? V12 man was in 5th or 6th. Now he's down to 10th. What in the world is going on in this race? Oh, and Ben L85 still mounting a challenge on the GTR of Elliott Faggoter, not trying to let him go. Oh, there might have been contact there, I think, between the two cars. It looks like the damage. Yep, there's definitely the damage. You can definitely see it between the two cars. Oh, can Yurei mount a challenge on Palmer? Probably go to the outside of the course. Always been tapped a little wide by that Mercedes, but nothing doing there. And of course I sit away monitoring the stuff on the Discord, and I was wondering what happened to the Mercedes of Palmer. He has pit, and unfortunately the GTR of Jack Mia, I'm not sure if that was a disconnect, but unfortunately he has left the room and the lobby. So here's an interesting thing. Swift now, better fuel than the Audi, but the Audi has better tires just than the car of Yurei. So Ure can push better on these tires if he can, but the fuel-wise, it is in the hands of the Mercedes. So, and Elliott Faggoter, oh, he gets it wrong out of the hairpin, and that's going to allow Ben L85 to close on up, as well as TGIS, who is also improving very well, and Hair Razor as well, also coming into this race. But it is still a very, very high-headed race, as Ure now all of a sudden is starting to break out of the toe. All of a sudden, Swift is breaking away from that toe of Ure, so if anything, this could be a very, very tight race for Swift and Ure, and especially James Head, who has done it. We haven't been paying attention to him a lot because of the fact that there's the Mercedes and the Audi, but James Head has done an exceptionally amazing job to get the number 7 Lexus back up into P3. And he said that he wasn't feeling confident at all. We were expecting him to be last or quit, according to his words. So, sometimes be careful what you say, but in this case for James Head, just careful what he doesn't say, because he's doing a good job of maintaining a P3 at the moment, and a 13-second gap for Elliott right now, who has gotten past the Lexus of Ben L85 for 4th, and obviously Ben L85 is looking to quickly get past. There might have been some contact there as the GTR was set a little wide. Was there a contact penalty? It doesn't look like it, but you can see the damage on that Lexus of Ben L85, who is really, really close to that Nissan GTR. Ure stole that 5/10 penalty, which he will have to serve, and Swift doing a good job of maintaining the lead. B12 man coming out of the pits not that long ago. Ben L85 will actually come into the pits with Doug Barrow. So with just, oh my goodness me, the Audi of Ure has gone around, and oh my goodness me, Ure has once again gone around. Oh, and he's probably got the pit as well, so James Head will pit. Swift, however, will stay out, and Ure will in fact pit this time by. So what will we see out of the Audi? Of course, and a lot of these guys are all coming in as well. Elliott Faggoter comes in. James Head will, of course, come in. TGIS 78 will come in. And who will be the first one out? And it will be James Head, who will just be able to get out ahead of the Audi. So, a very close race here. Ben L85 inherits 6th. But these guys, oh, look at this right there. It's Elliott. Oh, TGIS is going to try and force one out of the pits. Oh, what a good move right there for TGIS on Elliott Faggoter. You can see the flashing of the lights by Elliott, which I assume did not. So, we will once again continue to monitor things here as well. But the big question will be, when will Swift pit? Polymer has moved up into second, and Hairraiser will have to pit as well. James Head and Ure, who just came out of the pits, they'll be looking up to make up some lost ground. Swift will still continue on for probably at least a couple other laps for having to make his pit stop. But you can see in the background the lead that he's got over his teammate right about now, who has made up a comfortable margin. So Palmer's still moving on in the second, who pitted a while ago. Hairraiser will come in the sister 69 Costa Honda NSX GT3. And look at this move down to the inside by Ure, who takes away third place from James Head. So a great move right there for the Spanish driver in the number 77 Audi. He's got a lot less fuel in the tank, so I think Ure is going to try an alternate strategy on fuel here, which is a very, very interesting thing to take a look at. Polymer still taking the car easy throughout this race. Let's go back down now to this battle right here, where there's, you can see about 1, 2, 3, 4 cars make it 5. Where, oh my goodness me, you have a really tight battle for 5th place of the BMWs and the Lexuses and the Nissan and the Honda as well. You got both BMWs who are occupying 5th and 7th, and you got the Lexus of Ben-L85 who's occupying in 5th. So we will monitor that as well. Swift still not coming in. He's definitely going to try the one-stop strategy here. I'm not sure if he was saving the fuel while being in front of Ure, but in the case that he was, it was a very, very bold move, of course, because he's paid a lot of dividends throughout this race. A 20-second lead now over his teammate in 2nd place. And then add another 3 seconds right there for Ure, who is in 3rd place, and he's 23.5 seconds off the leader. Oh, is that James Head? Yes, it is James Head out of 4th place. Oh my goodness me, James Head was looking to probably get a strong points haul, but has once again put a foot wrong. And to think that I've not put a commentator's curse on anybody, or at least I think. First it was Ure, and now it was James Head. So, more drama to be had between the guys up front. And can this allow for these guys right here? And B12 man has gotten past the Lexus of Ben-L85. Inside move maybe for Elliott. Oh, potential switchback by Ben-L85. Oh, there's a car that went around. I saw a puff of smoke from one of those cars. I couldn't tell which one it was. But look at now, 3 wide going into the very tight chicane here. Very, very close racing for all of these guys. Oh my goodness me, who's going to make the move stick right there? B12 man. Oh, it's so squirrely between all of these guys. So Swift now, with a minute to go halfway, I think he will come in on this lap for some tires and some fuel. Polymer still doing a good job in 2nd, and Ure on an absolute hot charge right about now, as he's setting his fastest lap of the race, a 38.2. The fastest lap still in the hands of Ellie Fagner with a 37 dead. Ooh, so let's serve that penalty, of course. So Now we move up to the back of the front of the field, where the big question will be if Swift will pit this lap or not. I assume so, because he still has some fuel left to probably make about another lap or so, but the big question is if he's going to try and stretch out that fuel, obviously. And he's not moving right, so he will go for another lap. He's going on the absolute limit of fuel for this stint. The lead cut down to 17 seconds for the leader, which could be a very big indicator that Swift has been saving fuel, and I imagine still is, because Swift is running very, very close on fuel at the moment, and this would be very, very good for his strategy if he's able to maintain this lead. On the other hand, though, Palmer and Ure will have to come in for another pit, and Swift is going to try the one-stopper. So they're changing that. Look at the action right here, back here between Elliott Fagner and TGIS and both BMWs. An aggressive move out back to the outside by Elliott Fagner, the Nissan GTR. Dive down to the inside, maybe. There is a dive down to the inside of TGIS, and he keeps 5th place. So these guys have been very, very aggressive in the second half of this race. Oh, and Hair Razor's gone around again in the 69 Honda as well. So it looked like it was a very tough day for another tough day for Hair Razor once again. His teammate Doug Barrow looked to do very, very well early this race, and unfortunately it has not worked out in their favor. B12 man in 8th, and Elliott Fagner just putting a lot of pressure on the race lead on TGI's now. A very aggressive switch back down to the inside, and Swift now, I hate to break up that battle, but Swift now will be coming in this time by, and with about 4 liters of fuel left, it's going to be a very, very lengthy pit stop for the race leader, who has done an incredible job holding this position. But he will lose that first place at the expense of his teammate SLM Palmer. So a very, very long pit stop right there for Palmer, or for Swift. He will take full fuel. And Ure and Palmer are not that far. Swift is only 7 seconds off the lead left, so if he wants to, he can push, and he can push quite comfortably with this tank of fuel. He's done the first 30 minutes just fine, but now he's got to worry about going for another 30 minutes on the same tank, obviously. And Doug Barrow all of a sudden has popped up in the 5th place. So, oh, what's happened to TGIS? He was with Elliott, and I think he's had another incident somewhere on the track. So, more development for this race, which has been absolutely chaotic. We haven't been spotting it indirectly, but we've been noticing the position changes quite quickly. And Elliott Fagner with that 1.9 second penalty, that's a whopping penalty. I think he might have been on the responsible side of an incident, probably with TGIS of some sort. I'm not sure which, but that's probably going to be a pretty hefty penalty to serve, obviously. And then Doug Barrow, an incredible comeback drive to get that car back up into 5th, only 10 seconds behind James Head right about now. But he will be looking to probably find some lost time and some lost positions if he can. James Head still comfortably in P4. And Swift picked up a 5/10 penalty from somewhere. You don't usually see Swift picking up penalties for the most part. He is trying to serve it on the front stretch. And of course that only took out a 10th, but he still got 4/10 to serve. Ure's still doing a good job in 2nd despite his spin. And Palmer as well, who pitted very, very early in this race. I assume he will come in to the pits once again. The question is when, and if Ure can overtake him. At the moment, Ure, I apologize for the flickering of screens, of course, but Ure has been putting a lot of faster laps now. He is down by a second now, and once again is putting another fastest sector 2 of himself. Personal best sector 2, I should say, out of that sector 2. Sector 3 is where usually the Audi is very strong around here and can corner very, very well. And the Mercedes sometimes doesn't really like it, but they can quickly get away on that front stretch. A very long front stretch, of course. It's about 9 tenths now. As you can see right there on these delta times, the Mercedes is just getting away from the Audi. So a very, very close race here. And Ure has actually just set the fastest lap of the race. The first sub 38, a 37.985. So Ure is on an absolute tear right now in the Sidemax Motorworks 77 Audi. And this might be starting to put the pressure on for guys like Paul Romsey, and Ure is still going faster, the fastest sector 1 out of everybody here in this race. So Ure is on absolute qualifying mode right now, as you can see. And he's just on the back of Palmer, who also has a 1 second penalty, and he's gone very, very wide. So the tires for Palmer are probably still starting to show. Keep in mind, these are the top 2 in the Pro Championship. Oh, and he's going to move over to serve the penalty anyway. He's not going to put up with a fight, and Ure had to do an aggressive move out of the way. It looked like that might have been a brake check of some sort, but obviously will be coming down to the steward's discretion. And with about 23 laps to go, Palmer has done an incredible job to nurse these tires on home. And Ure is now leading this motor race, which will be very, very good for him, obviously. Speaking of which, Swift has now got a 3/10 penalty, which he will have to serve. He's about 7 seconds still behind the race leader. And keep in mind, he will have to nurse that car home for fuel, because he did go 30 minutes on this first stint with a single tank of fuel. He has filled up the tank on that stop, and look at the action right there as well. It's about 4 cars battling each other. Oh my goodness, and there's a massive spin by V12 man, who got the oversteer on the outside, and unfortunately there was just nothing he really could have done to avoid hitting the GTR Elliott Fageter, who now all of a sudden has gotten a 1 second penalty. Oh my goodness me. So the penalty, which was caused by V12 man, has been given to Elliott Fageter. So, Elliott Fageter, who's coming into this weekend 3rd in points in that championship. And right behind him is Swift, so he's easily going to get overtaken in the championship standings. Duck Barrow still in 5th, Ben L85 in 6th. So he's done a good job. James Head still in P4. Swift with 3/10 penalty now, as well as Palmer, who both have 3/10 penalties, 2nd and 3rd. And then Ure still leading this race, and he will have to come in on this. He will have to come in eventually. Not this time by, though. Ure 3/10 down, but no sector improvements for anybody at the moment. So, got about 10 cars left in this motor race. Oside Nova, I do not know who that is, but we will have to monitor that as well. Ure again with the purple sector 1, again showing that he is the fastest man out of sector 1. Just proves that you can get the Audi turn in the corner and put on the power pretty early. So that's where the benefit of that comes into play. The acceleration is very, very good on the Audi, of course, thanks to a 5.2 liter V10 in the rear. Elliott Fageter will be is pacing Sector 1 just like Ure is. Ben 85 and Doug Barrow. Doug Barrow has a 9/10 penalty, which he will have to serve as well. So that's going to allow Ben 85 to rapidly close up because he's only about 1.2 seconds behind. Swift with the 3/10 penalty still. Palmer with a 2/10 penalty. And this is allowing Ure in clean air to actually start pulling away from the Mercedes of Palmer. If he can hold out on these tires for very long, he can do very well. Ure has definitely better tires than the Mercedes of Palmer, so Palmer is starting to lose some ground on that Mercedes. 1/10 penalty remaining for Palmer as he's serving it into Sector 1. Swift right now still with a 2/10 penalty to serve. Doug Barrow still with that 9/10 penalty, which he will have to serve. So, we're monitoring the midfield battle as much as we can, while keeping an eye on the guys out in front. Elliott Fageter still having that 1 second penalty, which he will try and serve a very late aggressive move out. And can he do on the outside? Oh, and there was contact made between the two cars. And Elliott Fageter is just completely being aggressive. There's more contact between these two cars. Oh my goodness. Just these guys are completely going at it at each other. Amazing bumper to bumper racing and just wheel to wheel racing for all of these guys. Ure now low on fuel, 19 minutes to go in this race. I imagine Ure will have to come in this time by or the next time by if he wants to make those tires last. Ure will move into pit lane now, this time by. Will Palmer follow suit? Yes, he will. So the top two will come in for their final set of tires. And Swift will inherit the lead of this race once again. He led stint 1, but then stint 2 went to the way of Ure. And James Head. So James Head again, just being courteous enough to be able to. Of course, that was on stream, so I do apologize for that, unfortunately. But James Head is now ahead in second. So Swift now still leading this motor race. TGIS 78 also in the pits. He will come out. So I'll just tell the guy. Testing for that guy right there. Swift still has that 2/10 penalty, and he's only about 12 seconds behind, or 12 seconds ahead, I should say, from Ure. James Head still in third, and Ure got by him pretty quickly, and Palmer has lost a significant amount of time to Ure in the pits cycle. And we'll look at that right there. Oh my goodness me, that is very, very unsafe right there for Ben 85 and Doug Barrow. Keep in mind, you have to obey that pit road, obviously, to avoid a penalty. So that's going to definitely be under investigation right there as well. Elliott Fageter as well, 4/10 penalty in the pits. I imagine. So Doug Barrow comes out first, then Ben 85, and then Elliott. He still has that 4/10 penalty, of course. Air Razor will come in for his final stop. Swift still ahead by 12 seconds. I think this is gonna definitely test if Ure can be able to push like an absolute stat wreck. The gap now is 12.5 seconds and is slightly increasing. So, considering the fact that he's on new rubber, Ure is going to have to absolutely push if he wants any form of a race win here at Fuji. I apologize. Just dozed off for a second. But considering in points, Ure with 27, Elliot Faggoter with 26, but he's way down the order, unfortunately. But then Swift with 25. So 2 points separating between these two guys. And then 36 for the championship leader of SLM Palmer, who's in 4th. And James Head will also be collecting a very good salvo of points, but he will unfortunately have to pit as well, so he'll have to sacrifice that 4th place spot as well. It's a tough one. I'm gonna have to say Swift might hold out for this one, but Ure should keep his guard on for what he can do in this race if he wants to push for a victory or if he wants to celebrate or just keep it with a podium. And Palmer as well will be another person to keep an eye out for as well. Going back to the battles here once again, Doug Barrow and Ben L85 still going at it. Elliot Faggoter with a 9/10 penalty as well, so he keeps accumulating penalties, which is not good for him. TGIS and B12 man and the 2 BMWs. And then there's Hair Razor, who has had a tough day, unfortunately for him, but hopefully it will be going well for this race. So Swift continues to lead. And there you can see in the background, James Head will come into the pits and sacrifice that 3rd place position in the number 7 Lexus. And where will James Head pop out is the question. He's still in P4. Doesn't take much fuel. James Head will solidify his P4 for sure, because the top 4 are way spread out now. Swift and Ure are still setting identical laps, and Swift setting a 37.860, so he's completely matching the pace of Ure, who is the man he's trying to get away from, and Ure is also trying to catch him. So he's about 11 seconds, so it's about 11 3/4 of a second behind Swift, and Ure is about 5-ish seconds, 5.1 seconds ahead of Palmer. And in terms of anything battle-wise, we do have this battle between the Lexus of Ben L85 and the Honda NSX GT3 of Doug Barrow. This battle is still far from over. And L85 is just having to really wrestle the car to get it pointed where he needs to get it pointed. So Ben L85 doing a very, very good job of himself keeping a P6 and a very close challenge for Doug Barrow. He does have another top 5 finish at Bathurst, so that is something to keep an eye out for. And Elliot Faggoter, unfortunately for him, he looked like he was really high charging throughout the field, but of course he didn't have the best day, and the best luck is coming, unfortunately for him. And the gap now between the two leaders is 10.6 seconds. So that gap has come down a little bit. Is it because of the fact that the tire wear for the Mercedes might be starting to show its age, and that slide might be an obvious cue that the Mercedes might be running out of mechanical grip? And I assume Swift will be coming in. He will be coming to the pits, so this is a very interesting development right here. Swift carrying out the tires for the first 10 minutes, for the first 30 minutes of this race. He is coming to the pits now, so I imagine this will be a tire-only stop. Fuel going in the car now, so this is going to be having to sacrifice the lead to Ure. Not much fuel there. Where is Ure? He's coming across the start finish line now, and Ure just overtakes him. So this is going to be an interesting race for the race win right here, as Ure has held on even after his spin, is now leading this motor race. So now Swift has a little bit more fuel in the tank, and I think he might have put a bit too much in that tank. So he's definitely good to push, but the big question now is if Ure can hold on for a race win, his first win of the season. He got 4th at Bathurst. He got 3rd at Suzuka. Can he capitalize and get a race win here for his first win of the season, and to effectively take the lead of the Pro Championship? So the gap now is just under 2 seconds now before the two up front. And don't count out Palmer just yet, because with a 37.9, he is setting some fastest laps of his race too. Not the fastest lap of the race, but he is setting the pace as well. So an outlap for Swift, and then he will begin his first final stint with about 8 minutes and 14 seconds to go. So this race, which I thought was going to go in the way of Swift, has given Ure some life. Because in the messages of Discord earlier this week, it said that Ure was struggling a bit for practice. He is going to have to absolutely push like a stabbed rat if he wants this win. 0.02 of a second faster than Swift. So fastest sector 1 out of anybody, and this is amazing stuff. So 21.6. So I imagine Elliott Fageter is the fastest one out of sector 1, but Ure has been pacing that fastest lap of Swift in sector 1. So we'll continue to watch this battle for the race lead unfold, as these two of Doug Barrow and Ben L85 are still far from over for the most part. We will continue to monitor this battle, which is only separated by 0.7 of a second, and going up and down slightly, but it's just the gap's still there. But we will be watching this battle up front, where it's now only 1.2 seconds for the race leader and the second place car of Swift. So Ure is going to absolutely push. Like, now, is Ure going to come into the pits? The big question. No, he's not. He's going to juke him out. He's actually just trying to break up the slipstream of that Mercedes, which in higher top speed gives the Mercedes an advantage in a straight line. But the cornering abilities of that Audi have been strong all day, and this is going to give Ure a chance to hopefully try and get a potential first win of the season. And with only 6 minutes to go, should be looking at about 4 to 5 laps. And Ure is just so consistent in that Audi. Of course, he's 0.5 slower than the car of Swift in his fastest lap, but in terms of lap times, 0.2 faster for Swift, and Ure is not that far in terms of pace. But when you think about it, that 0.2 at the moment can make a humongous difference, because the gap now is only separated by 1.5 seconds. And look at that now, another purple sector 2 for Ure, who is absolutely trying to push that Audi, the Side Max Motorworks Audi R8 LMS, the 77, the previous gen version, because the Audi didn't make the Evo version. But don't disregard the competitiveness of this Audi, which has so many wins all over the world, so many championships. It's a very good car, and it's just like the Mercedes, it can compete as well. So, a green sector 1 for Swift this lap. So, will this be a fastest lap for Swift potentially? What will Ure do? Nothing there and nothing there. 38.2 for Swift, but a 38.2 for Swift for Ure as well. So these guys are on identical lap times. So this is amazing stuff that we are watching in the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. And just under 5 minutes to go, that Ure will have to fend off first place. So it looked like the one stop, which initially Swift was going to go for, but all of a sudden that's been turned on its head, and now I think Swift has put too much fuel in the tank. I think that pretty much just cost him his race, and Elliott Fagener has to make a late pit stop out of 7th place. That's even more points for him to lose. A little bit of fuel going in the car. He's got B12 man coming. Oh no, that's TGIS, I stand corrected. And I think he just did that to try and cover off the BMW of TGIS 78. And he's done so very, very well. But this battle for 5th is still going on, and Ben L85 has made the move on the Honda, and he's not done. Doug Barrow is going to still give a chance and still fight his way back into 5th place. And this is amazing, amazing stuff for all these guys. Oh, and a penalty for Doug Barrow, so 7/10 against him, and that's going to probably allow Ben L85 to convert to another top 5 finish. Ure now with a 37.9, his fastest lap of the race, a 37.9 as well. Oh, and Swift picked up a 1.5 second penalty at this rate in the race. That's something you don't want to have happen. So 1.4 seconds is the gap, but with a 1.5 second penalty, Swift is going to have to absolutely charge on that car if he wants to challenge for a race win here at this rate in the race. And I'm realizing that this race has gotten too intensive to the point where I'm actually spinning all over my monitor. I don't want to do that, obviously, but yeah, so Palmer is too far back in the race leaders. Unfortunately, I think he will be in line to convert into a P3 finish. Ben L85 and Doug Barrow striking that gap. Yep, Doug Barrow has served that penalty, but the gap now 1.6 seconds with 2.5 minutes to go in this race. Palmer with a 4/10 penalty, and Swift still has that 1.5 second penalty. So Swift will have to serve that penalty and hope for an absolute miracle that Ure puts the car in the wrong place, which he has done so far this race, and Ure does not absolutely need that again. And based on the timings for this, these guys will get another lap. 1 minute 44 now. So yes, they will get another lap, but I don't think Palmer, I do not think we'll get another lap. So, just like one of the Mazda races we had at Suzuka last week, this race will be sought out for these top two who will still get another lap. 37.9s, these guys are unbelievably just so even to one another in the top two. So this is amazing racing in terms of just identical lap times for the top two of these guys. And Palmer, unfortunately for him, the tire wear has not gone his way. So, but just unbelievable, just for the fact that 37.9 and 37.9s for the last 2 laps for both of these guys, and this is amazing stuff to take home a race win here and take home some serious points right here. And keep in mind, Swift was the one on pole position, Yuri was the one on second place. Last week, it was Yuri that got pole, Swift on second. Swift took race 1 win there, Yuri got third. Qualifying for today, Swift takes pole, Yuri on second. And with about 29 seconds to go, and Swift still that 1.5 second penalty, I do not think it's going to be able to capitalize on Yuri's race. So, and Swift now trying to take on the slipstream of Yuri, and I believe Swift has put too much fuel in the car, and the gap is shrinking significantly. He's overdriving the absolute heck out of the car. And unfortunately for him, Palmer will come across the line for a podium P3 finish. James Head in P4. Ben L85 for sure in P5, unless he puts a foot wrong. And Doug Barrow in P6. And Ben L85 is on the absolute limit with fuel right now, so can he be able to get the car over the line? I'm seeing a massive train of cars. It's just 3 cars. LA Faggot and TJI's and V12 man. But Ben L85 will hold on to P5 just in the number 8 Lexus. So both Lexus in the top 5. Doug Bear will come home through a P6 after a strong recovery after his spin in the race. But we go up to the front of the field now where it's only 6 tenths gained. It's 6 tenths between the top 2, but Swift still has that penalty to serve. So 8 tenths now, half a second now between Yuri and Swift. But keep in mind, Swift has to serve that penalty. And this is just... Look at him, he's absolutely on the back bumper of that car, and he's put a foot wrong, and he's going to allow Yuri to stretch out that gap a little bit more slightly. He's completely on the back bumper of that car. He's still got the penalty to serve. Yuri goes to the inside. And for the final time down the pit stretch, he fires back at Swift, and Yuri is going to take his first win of the season in the Street Line Motorsports GT3 Championship at Fuji. And all the penalties to be had right there. And for the first time this season, Yuri in the Cymax Motorworks Audi 77 grabs his first win of the season. A very tough race indeed, but he pulls it out just. So now, of course, I will make the party once again. And this time, it was just... I really hate to say it, but I think Swift had that race. He just put too much fuel in the car, obviously. So, very tight racing indeed for all of these guys. But I think Swift's major caviar was just putting too much fuel in the car, unfortunately. So, podium interviews now for the podium finishers. So there you go, the race result. Yuri capturing this first win of the season. And of course, we start off our podium interviews with the man on second place, Swift. You looked like you were going to be able to capitalize on a race win, but I think the pit stop on the end, you just put too much fuel in the car, and it pretty much just gave Yuri a win. So tell us what you're feeling right about now.
I didn't think I did. I thought I'd fueled it perfectly, but you know, I guess it was one lap too much. But I didn't really care where I came out. I thought even if I come up 2 seconds behind him, I'll catch him easily on fresh tires. But he was freakishly fast in the Audi, which was already on like 5-lap old tires.
Yeah, it looked like...
Get into the slipstream. It was really annoying because the slipstream distance is 1.5 seconds, and I was always getting onto the main straight at 1.6, and I just couldn't get in. If I'd have got in, I could have got in 2 laps earlier, and that's just a shame. But the penalty was, honestly, I think it was just absolute rubbish. It was at the tight chicane at the start of the third sector, and it thought I took a bit too much curb, but I'd been doing the same all race, and 1.5 is just, I don't know. Half a second I could have got rid of, but 1.5 I couldn't. But, one stop would have worked. It's just I would have dropped off too much at the end, and he would have caught me easily, and then I would have had 20-lap old tires. So I had to make the second stop because he was going too quickly. Yeah, it's just I couldn't get into the slipstream range by about half a second. Even though I was setting consistent mid 37s, it wasn't enough. But that's
Yeah,
how it goes sometimes.
yeah, it looked like it was going to be a tough. It looked like it was going to be you taking the win of the race, but of course, Yuri was the one that was able to capitalize on that race win, of course. But before we move on to Yuri, we'll move on to the man in third place, Palmer. Once again, another strong podium for you. You're keeping your podium streak alive with your third podium of the season, obviously.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that, but it was a very, very tough race. Um, I was very surprised to get up to first at the start, but I knew that third was definitely my place to finish. Um, these two were on another level compared to everyone else.
Yeah, obviously, I think the pace was showing, especially at the end of the race where Swift and Yuri were basically putting in near identical lap times, just 37s, which is something that we have that we weren't seeing in qualifying and in practice. But obviously, that's another bonus point for Swift because he was able to take the fastest lap of the race, I think, right at the end with a 37.6. So he was able to capitalize on another point right there. But
Yeah, that's why I didn't serve the penalty because I knew I was on for a fastest lap.
yeah, so that's actually wasn't too difficult, but obviously points are all that matter. And before we move on to Yuri Palmer, one last question: was there anything that you possibly could have done differently to hopefully try and challenge for a potential race win today?
I don't think so. Like I said, these two are on a completely different level compared to me, and my race pace was absolutely rubbish. I think Mercedes does definitely suit the circuit. I just need to get better with it.
Yeah, I'd say I think that was the maximum that you could have hoped for today's event. But obviously, like I said, second and third, you guys did a very good job in both Mercedes. But we move on to our race winner for the first time this season, Yuri. It's been a tough first two rounds of the season, but you finally pulled it off, and obviously it looked like it was going to be coming very, very close to the line between you and Swift. How are your emotions right about now, taking your first win of the season? Yeah, yeah, you came into the to the race here second in points behind Palmer, who was just about 9 points down. So for you to take your first win of the season and be able to finally capitalize on a race win, I bet it has to feel amazing for you, obviously. Yeah, night. Yeah, it looked like it was. It looked like it was going to be a very tight race between you and Swift. Honestly, in my honest opinion, I thought Swift was going to go for the one stop after,
That was the plan. That was the plan. But
yeah,
I
managing.
knew that I knew that from my first stint, I would be like at the end of the stint, I would be setting mid 39s, and I knew that he would have caught me, and I wouldn't have had a chance. So I had to pit.
Yeah, so I mean, and one last question for Yuri. I mean, I know the spin obviously was kind of a nervous one for you, obviously, but I think what happened after the spin made you realize that you were like, you know what, you can't keep doing this. That if you keep spinning out, your races are going to be going over. What kind of you thought to yourself after that spin? Were you realizing that you could probably try and catch up to Swift, obviously? Yeah, I'd say it looked like yeah, it was a very very good race in terms of strategy for basically all of these guys, obviously, because you know Swift tried something new, obviously with the one stop, but obviously with the way that things were going with Yuri's pace, he was going to be on him. But obviously a very very interesting race, obviously. But once again, guys, we do hope you enjoyed. So far, we now have three separate race winners in the pro division. Of course, Yuri taking his first win of the season. And obviously, next week, we will be visiting Dragon Trail for the fourth round of the Straight Line Motorsports GT3 Championship. As usual, I've been host and commentator for today's race, SM_RRDZ, and we hope you all have enjoyed today's set of races, and we will see you guys next time.